Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is my October wrap-up video. At the start of October, after doing the one for September, I decided I was going to be really smart about it and record little tiny segment videos as and when I finished a book. That didn't happen. I ended up being like not very well for a large chunk of this month, and the last thing I wanted to do is put makeup on and get dressed and record a video. So it's going to be a similar format. I'm just going to go through all of the books that I read this month, and like my thoughts on them with as little spoilers as possible. It was an okay month, considering all things. I am happy with the amount that I eventually ended up reading. It doesn't seem like a lot, but considering for a large chunk of October I'd only read like 4 books, I'm pleased that I managed to get through another 4 and ended with a total of 8 books. It was a pretty decent month in terms of the books. My book of the month was really difficult to pick. I had 3 5-star reads, 1 4.5, 1 4, 2 4s, 1 3-star and 1 1-star, which I think is quite possibly the lowest I have given a book for a while. I can't remember. I think I had, yeah, last month was mostly 3 stars, I think, but yeah, I don't think I had any real low stars, but this month we got a 1-star and I am scared to say which one it is, because it's a beloved book, but my opinion is my opinion, so I'm really sorry when I get to this book if it's something that you love. Sorry. So the first book that I read was Never Ever After by Sue Lin Tan. I was really excited for this one. I had it pre-ordered from Waterstones. I love Sue Lin Tan as an author. I've read the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology, the last one that she did, which Waterstones did like a stunning edition for, and then really let the ball slip with this one for some strange reason. But luckily Fairy Loot did the most beautiful edition, so I cancelled my Waterstones pre-order because I realised that I was getting something far prettier. Really good. Enjoyed the plot quite a lot. So for like the synopsis, if you've not seen my unboxing video, our main character is oh my god, my brain has just gone blank. Yining. That's what I was going for. Yining. I knew it began with a Y. Yining lives in the Iron Mountains. She lives with her uncle, and then it's kind of like a Cinderella type-ish story. She lives with her uncle and then her step-aunt. Eventually she ends up in the palace, and she catches the eye of the prince who is due to be coronated and crowned king, but she also catches the eye of the ambassador for a neighbouring country. And we're gonna have like a bit of a love triangle scenario. She can't choose. You've got like the crown prince who's charming and nice on the surface, but then he also reveals himself to be cruel and ambitious with some of the things. I mean, that's in the blurb anyway, so that's not really spoilery. And then you have the like mysterious ambassador that's helpful and nice, and the two are just like complete polar opposites, and you get a lot of side things going along that I can't really spoil because it is a spoiler. Yining did frustrate me, and she is the sole reason that this book didn't make it a 5-star, just because I don't like it when you get main characters that pine for the wealth and the lifestyle of royals and the nobility, and then they get it and then they're like, oh well, I don't want this now, like this isn't all it's cracked out to be, because she basically isn't really allowed to leave and doesn't have as much freedom. So her issue is that she doesn't have as much freedom as she used to, but when you read the start of the book with the aunt, it doesn't sound like she has that much freedom anyway. So you're trading like one cage for another, you might as well be rich with it, like surely. And yeah, it was sort of weird. Nothing outright cruel had happened to her, but I don't know, there's a lot of backstory that sways her decisions for certain things. I did actually feel quite sorry for Prince Zishin in the end. He is not a great character. by all means. But he has also been very like misled and is a product of his upbringing and the cruelty of his father. And the way that the book ends, I'm really hoping, because it's gonna be more than one book, so I'm kind of hoping we get like a redemption arc for him, because he's not too far gone yet, I feel. And a lot of it's kind of, yeah, you feel a bit sorry for him in the end. There's reasons for it that's kind of explained. They don't go into too much detail, but still, I know I shouldn't feel sorry for him because he's meant to be the bad guy, but I do. Overall, it was really good. Ying just frustrated me a little bit with like the flip-flopping between lives. She got everything she wanted, and then she was like, actually, no, I don't think I want this anymore. But that happens quite a lot in these kind of Cinderella type books, inspired books. So whenever you see me read one of them, I tend to get a little bit frustrated for it. But yeah, it was good. I think its tags are fantasy romance, or romantasy, retellings, fairy tales, young adult, I think. I could be wrong. Not sure. But it was still a very good book. And one that I thoroughly enjoyed and kicked off my October reads with a really good start. So next I had The Baby Dragon Bakery, which was a very, very high contender of my book of the month until the next book that I read. Which is a shame. It was a really tough pick between those two, but it lost out, unfortunately. But Baby Dragon Bakery is a sequel-ish to Baby Dragon Cafe, in the sense that you've got the characters from Baby Dragon Cafe. They do feature, but it's heavily focused on Lavinia and Theo, who, if you read Baby Dragon Cafe, Lavinia works for, oh my god, is it Sophia? Lavinia worked for the main character of Baby Dragon Cafe, and Theo used to drop off like his baked creations. It's basically, if you read Cafe, you see that there's a little spark between the two. This is just that developing, and a cute cozy romance for the pair of them. Just as Cafe was frustrating, these two are very frustrating. There is a character in the book that I feel incredibly sorry for. I'm pretty sure his name was Callum. I didn't write it down because I'm stupid. Or Callahan. It began with a C. Lavinia starts dating him to get over her feelings for Theo, and I think it was just a very cruel thing. I spent the whole book thinking, oh my god, he's gonna hurt her and Theo's gonna swoop in and save her, but actually nothing like that happens. That is just like not pessimist, but I've read too many books that have stung me before to be like, okay, this is gonna be a perfect cute fantasy, but actually 9 times out of 10 they are. But the whole book is Lavinia and Theo are in love with each other, and they don't realise it, and everyone else notices. And you get a dual point of view from both of them, which is really nice. But yes, they are a little bit frustrating. There's a couple of things that made me really, really happy that I don't want to go into because it's kind of spoilery. But there's also going to be a third book that has been announced, so I'm really hoping we get a matching lock library edition, but 2 that we see more of Lavinia and Theo in that as well, like we did with Sophia and her partner, whose name escapes me. But yeah, so this was a 5-star. Absolutely enjoyed it. It set me up for a mood of my original plan, because this was what I read before I got ill. It set me up for like a really cute cozy October, which kind of didn't happen as much as I had, because I've still got loads of cute cozy books left to read. So we're gonna have a cozy November instead, hopefully. But it set me up, and for a very long time, well, until the next book, this was gonna be my book of the month. And then my book of the month ended up being my next read, which was Cat Dragon. So yeah, for this one, it's just cozy fantasy, friends to lovers, dragons. Obviously there are dragons involved because it's Baby Dragon Bakery. And yeah, I believe it's adult rather than young adult, but a very, very enjoyable read overall. I absolutely loved it. So my third book of the month for October was Cat Dragon by Samantha Birch. It was a cute, cozy autumn read. I was very fortunate to get hold of the Lot Library edition through Vinted, because I saw the Lot Library edition and fell in love with it, and nothing else would do because it was covered in pumpkins and I needed that. Loved Little Wick, who is the cat dragon, by far my favourite character, because you guys know how much I love like an animal companion. They were, so Hollis was the male love interest, and Alice, I can never pronounce this, Aloysia, I don't know how you pronounce it, but they were your typical cute, cozy romance couple. They started off kind of, not quite rivals, but kind of, it was Aloysia's best friend's brother, and I don't think he has magic. But he's always like really good at everything that he does, so she's like, there's like an instant dislike there originally, but then as they sort of travel to help heal the Guardian, they kind of bond, and they both bond with Little Wick the cat dragon. Loads of really sweet events happen. They meet loads of characters that then start helping them out, and yeah, it was so cute. I really enjoyed it. I can't really go into too much detail because there's a lot that's quite spoiler related. Again, with all of these, trying not to, but it was just the nicest. It gave me very like Studio Ghibli kind of vibes, like sweet, cute adventure. There wasn't a huge kind of lives at stake vibes with this one. There were like, there are stakes and the outcome could be bad, but it wasn't like massive. It was, sorry, I had a calendar notification pop up, and for some reason when I'm on my phone it will just not disappear even though my camera app's open, so clearly I'm doing something that doesn't need a pop-up for. But yeah, very, very cute. I want a cat dragon. They start off as tiny, like cat-sized shapes, so I imagine like the whole time I spent thinking of Tink but with wings. They start off like tiny and cute. The whole book, I was like, if anything happens to this dragon, I'm throwing this book out the window and never picking up another book again. I would have raged. That's how attached that I got to this cat dragon, and I need a cat dragon in my life because they are the absolute cutest. So this ended up being my book of the month. It was just cute and cozy. Give me a cute animal companion that steals the show, and you know it's a good recipe for a book of the month. And yes, so this is what knocked Baby Dragon Bakery off of its pedestal as soon as I read it. And check out the Forbidden Wing version. It is stunning. I hope they do a sequel, because the way it ends, it kind of wraps up nicely, but it could also be a sequel. So if they do, I can't wait, and hopefully I get to get hold of the Forbidden Wing matching edition if they do one, so I don't have to like pay for the nose through Vinted or eBay. So yeah, very cute. Cozy fantasy, romance, dragons, witches, I believe adult fantasy as well. I think I read a lot of adult fantasy this month. Yeah, so that was my third book of October. Then I got horrendously ill, so this book took me a lot longer than it should. This is not a reflection on how good it is. It is a great book. I was just struggling to focus. It didn't end up being 4 stars for me. I don't know why. It just felt like there was something missing, and I cannot put my finger on it, but there was just something that held back from it being a 5 star, and that was The Last Soul Among Wolves by Melissa Caruso. I loved the first book. I thought it was great. I think it was The Last Hour Among Souls. I can't remember the exact. But it is part of the Echo Archives. We're back with Kembrel Thorne, who just wants nothing more than to finish her maternity leave, but she gets a call from her childhood friends group to go to a mysterious island with a house on it that can only be accessed at certain times of the day because of the sandbar and the tide. She goes over there to find her friends have somehow got them embroiled in a curse, and they've all been summoned to be given the details of the inheritance and curse. And basically it's a deadly game. There's not just the friends involved as well, there's some other characters that come in. So Kem ends up being there. Rika has been hired by one of the friends to try and figure out how to resolve it, and then the pair of them start working together. The mansion's full of secrets. A lot of things are revealed. We end up actually having a bit of a murder mystery, which is really fun. Hiccups. It was great. I really enjoyed seeing more of Kem and Rika's relationship. It's still pretty similar to how it was in the first book. It didn't really grow that much at the start, but then it grew more and more as we went on. The murder mystery aspect really intrigued me, and I think the reason why I felt like something was missing is because we didn't spend too much time focusing on that. We spent more time focusing on the echoes, which was the more pressing thing because it was related to the curse, but it kind of felt like they were like, well, if we solve the thing with the echoes, there's going to be no need for this murderer to carry on. But the murderer did carry on, so it was kind of like you needed both, really. I think it would have been, I would have much preferred it to have been a bigger book than it was and had them investigating the murders a little bit more. But I do like a murder mystery, and I do like mystery in general. So if there's ever any kind of hint of mystery where they need to should be figuring things out or investigating, I'm kind of like, I want to see more of that. So I think that's what probably pulled it back from being a 5-star for me. I did also get a little bit frustrated. For those of you that have read the first book, the way echoes work, especially the Empyrean echoes, is they have to go by their nature. So if you have an Empyrean who needs to be cunning, they have to be cunning. They can't outright just win. They've got to do it cunningly, and they can't go against that nature, otherwise their nature tears themselves apart if they do go against it. There is a point where they come up against a couple of recurring Empyreans from the first book. And it shocks me how remarkably slow it takes for Kem and Rika to actually be like, oh, do you know what? We can defeat her this way. This is how we defeat this Empyrean. This is how we defeat that Empyrean. And it's right at the end of the book, and it's like, you could have done this a lot earlier and probably saved more lives because of it. But we didn't. There was also a character who was, I can't really spoil this one, but Vi made me tear up. That was just the cutest. If you read this book, then you'll know what I mean. Right at the end when everything comes out, and we're at the kind of climax of everything, and a lot more secrets are revealed. It's just the sweetest. I'm not going to say any more than that because I think it's a really good series, and I do 100% recommend that you read this book and the book before. I'm super excited for the third one because we are getting a third one. It's already been confirmed. So I can't wait, and I do recommend it, and you'll understand what I mean when I say the section with Vi at the end teared me up so much. It is fantasy, adult, LGBT, mystery, and just a really good book. Highly recommend. I just wish they'd focused a little bit more on the murder mystery, because I would always go for that. So my next book is what I thought was going to be my lowest rated book for the month. Ended up not being my second lowest. It was a 3-star read for me, and it was my Locked Library book for October. It had so much promise. I was really excited for it. Thought amazing, how fun. It sounds really interesting. It was meant to be a horror, and it was The Macabre by Kosako Jackson. I liked the premise of it. So we have a painter that gets summoned into this whole world of magic, and he's got this ability to go into paintings to basically figure them out and escape them, because there's 10 paintings, and each of them have I don't know if they've got a spirit inside of them, or if they're cursed, or they're just bad and they do bad things to the world around them, and he has the ability to go in and stop them from doing that. And it sounds really interesting. It was going to be, they're going to travel across the world and find these paintings, and what we got was the main character was awful. So the first thing that I tried really hard to look past is the author set this in the British Museum, and they were going to have a art display at the British Museum of this guy's artwork. I love the British Museum. I spend a lot of time there myself because I like looking at artifacts, and I'm a history nerd and like ancient history in particular, it just wound me up that especially in the author letter, he talks about going in and seeing the galleries, and the guy has clearly confused the British Museum for the National Galleries. I looked past that. That was fine. That was not the reason for my rating. The reason for my rating is that the main character, after a few chapters, become extremely unlikable. And it was very much of a, you need to stay here and not do this because these paintings are very dangerous, and you need to wait until we've got the proper protocol in place, that we've got the staff in place to, in case anything negative happens. And he's just like, oh, I'm going to go and do it anyway. So they end up in Australia and a couple of other countries. And basically the events that what he does ends up leading to like international incidences. So then the head of the organization is like, okay, I'm confining you to this house. You've got free reign. The house will give you whatever you want. And like, we'll call you when we need you because you're causing too many problems. And he makes it a race thing. And that bothered me. I understand that there are books that want to talk about racism, and I think they should. Any person, regardless of their race, that started working for a company that then proceeded to cause 2 international incidences where quite a few people unalived themselves, anyone's gonna be confined. He's lucky that he didn't get a death sentence for that because he didn't get caught. It was nothing to do with that. And it just kind of marred the whole thing because it was like, I don't know, it just brought the tone down. I think there was better ways to have done it. If you want to show how bad the British Museum or the organisation that is working for the British Museum is, and yes, it turns out that they are actually incredibly racist in this book, but do it better. Like, if it was a case of he'd gone to the shops and they were like, you're on lockdown, you can't leave because you didn't do what we said and stayed here when we told you to, and you've gone out and bought a loaf of bread, not you've gone out and caused 2 major international incidences that resulted in a loss of lives catastrophically, that there was better ways to showcase that this organisation is corrupt and racist, not that. And to have the character be whining and upset about it because he caused all of those problems, knowing full well that he was going to cause those problems when he took the steps that he took, it wound me up. And it took away from an overall what would have been really interesting book, because outside of that, it was interesting. I enjoyed the whole aspect of having to go into the paintings and like what actually caused the paintings to be like this and how it was fixed and everything. And then the ending was really good. But straight away, I was just a bit like, do you know what? I actually don't like you as a main character. I'm not supposed to feel sympathetic for you because of your history and your past, but because of the way you acted to you causing these deaths, not really as sympathetic with you as I probably could have been if it was something else to showcase the racism within the organisation. It feels like there's going to be more to this. I don't think I would pick up the rest. If you like horror, and I mean, I wouldn't really say it was horror. It was more fantasy with a sprinkling of horror, but I didn't sit there and find myself thinking, oh, this is really scary. It was just interesting. So it is horror. The other aspect of it was the romance. Just could have had so much potential. I am all for queer romances. It just felt a little left field. Originally it was, oh, that guy's hot. And then they sort of didn't really interact with each other much apart from when they were causing these international incidences. They were mostly kept separate. And then suddenly it was like a confession of love. And it just felt like the author sat there, wrote all this story and then went, oh, I forgot to include the romance. Oh, I just put them together at the end. It could have been done so well, but it wasn't. So I would have liked to have seen more of the romance within the horror, not just having it feel like it was a checkbox, right, there's romance in this now, because that's really what it felt like. I would have loved to have seen them blossoming and growing into the cute couple that we should have had at the end. So yeah, mystery I think would be one of the tags, genres, whatever you want to call it. Horror, fantasy, but I would say very, very light horror, more towards the fantasy side of things. And yeah, queer relationships, LGBT, I wanted to like this so much, but it because of the main character being so unlikable, it ended up only being a 3-star for me, unfortunately. However, my next book was the Fairy Loot Adult October book, which was Alchemy and Secrets. I was really looking forward to this. So it's by Stephanie Garber, and I know her books are really hyped. I'd not actually read anything by Stephanie Garber before this, so this is my first book by her, and my goodness, got a 5-star from me. I did consider putting that as my book of the month, but I was just totally into cozy October vibes. I'm pretty good at picking out plot points for things. Not always, like not 100%, but I'll be like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. Oh yeah, that's gonna happen. This book kept me on my toes. It had me confused. The reveals at the end were amazing. The scenarios that they got themselves into was so good. So it's basically, we have Holland, who is our main character. She is trying to find the alchemical heart because she's been given a deadline. She studies in a folklore class, which is this professor who gives all of these mysteries. So they'll be like the Watchman, who if you say, I want to know the time, he'll tell you your time of death, but he'll also give you a hint on how to prevent that death. And then you have like this specific hotel that only people with a key can go into. Anyone that goes in there that doesn't have a key is thrown out. But it's like a magical hotel, where basically I think it's like 1 minute in the real world is an hour in there. So if you need to lose time, or you want to keep time still, pretty much you can go to this hotel. And loads of other folklore things. And this is basically the main character Holland's journey, where she discovers that these are real, and she gets sent on a whirlwind adventure. She wants to find out what caused the death of her parents, and she has got multiple people that claim to know her sister and the professor of the folklore class that are trying to help her, and you just don't know. You have no idea who is a good guy and who is a bad guy. The lines are inherently blurred, and it's really, really good. She's with both of them at certain points. There are some confusing scenes where she's with I can't really say because it's kind of a spoiler, but it's such a good book. It kept me guessing right up until the end, but also it leaves you with a lot of questions, like a lot of questions. Me and my friend were talking about this the other day. There are so many questions that are left unanswered, and it's not very clear whether there's going to be a sequel or not. I really hope there is, because obviously there's a lot more mythological things and folklorish things that they could delve into and investigate, and hopefully answer the questions that are left unanswered in the book. But it could also equally just be left as is. I don't think I've ever had a book in my life where I have not been able to guess a single plot point of where it's going. Even a minor one. This one had me on my toes the whole time, and it was amazing. Absolutely 100% recommend. The only reason this isn't my book of the month is just because I was in such a cozy autumn October vibe that it went to Cat Dragon. Otherwise, I think this could have potentially stolen the spotlight from Baby Dragon Cafe if I hadn't have Cat Dragon. Yeah, so it's your fantasy, adult, dark academia, historical fiction. I've seen a lot of places listing it as romantasy and romance. I would disagree with that, because apart from her thinking the guys are good looking, there's nothing really there that happens. So I'm not keen on listing it as a romance, but for a lot of places, especially I think on Goodreads and maybe Waterstones or Amazon, I can't remember which one, they are listing it as a romance. But 100% highly recommend if you want a good mystery to keep you going. Go for that. So my next book, and this is going to be very short because I feel like I have wasted so much time on this book that I don't really want to waste any more time with this book, was Alchemized by Sen Lin Yu. I know there was some controversy because it was a Harry Potter fan fiction that then moved to traditional publishing, so they changed the IPs and the names and the places and tweaked bits here and there. I read it and I wouldn't have sat there and been able to say, oh yeah, this was definitely a Harry Potter fanfic, you can see it. What I can say is it was bad. it was horrendous. It didn't engage. The reason why I haven't got through, the other reason why I haven't got through as many books as I would have liked, even after recovering from being ill, is because this was 961 pages of absolute rubbish. I didn't enjoy it. It is the closest that I've ever come to not finishing a book and just shelving it. It was horrendous. I can't even tell you much about it because I was reading it to get through it at one point because I didn't want my track record to be ruined by this. But then it also was a case of, I got like 200 pages in, I was like, that is 200 pages of my time that I'm never going to get back. It was kind of like sunken cost fallacy, basically. I've put time into this, I feel like I need to finish this. It was awful. Don't recommend it. It was 1 star. The characters weren't well written. It bounced around quite a lot. It glorified rape. It was just not a fun read. It's listed as romance, romantasy, dark romance, fiction, dark and adult. I wouldn't really say it's romance. It's Stockholm Syndrome. You start off with, she's the main character is a captive, and then slowly starts developing feelings for her captive. Then they try and make it better by reliving the past, but actually it's still Stockholm Syndrome because it's still like forced proximity, almost kind of like prisoner. But yeah, it was by far the worst book I've ever read, and I'm probably going to sell that edition because I don't even want it on my shelf. If you're a fan of Manacled or you've read this and you love it, I'm really sorry, it was not for me. I just don't think the characters were well written. I don't think the story was well written. It was just not grand, and that is what I'm gonna leave that as, because I don't want to waste any more time on this book. And then my final read is one that I'm very, very late to the party with, I know. It was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I didn't pick it up originally. I'm glad that I didn't. It was on my radar. I considered it when it first came out, but I'm glad I didn't because I ended up getting beautiful sprayed edged edition that was released this year because they're going through and making hardbacks, and I prefer a hardback to a paperback. Loved it. I thought it was cute. I gave it a 4 star just because Logan annoyed me a little bit right near the end. It was just your typical cute cozy autumn romance. It makes me want to go and live like somewhere in New England in America for like autumn and Halloween, because like I feel like autumn and Halloween in America is done better than it is over here in the UK. We're getting better at it, but not quite those kind of scales. And I'd love like an autumn festival where you can go and do fun things and go on cute dates. It's set in the town of Dream Harbour, and it is an entire series. So there is the Cinnamon Bun Cafe and the Christmas Tree Farm, which I've got on my shelf somewhere like there. You can see the pair of them there and there. I'm going to read them soonish. I also want to read the rest of the series, but I'm hoping that they'll do matching hardbacks for them all. It's just very, very cute. You've got like your grumpy farmer Logan and your cute sunshine girl Jeannie. She's setting up a new life. She's taken over the Pumpkin Spice Cafe in Dream Harbour from her aunt who's retiring. Logan annoyed me right near the end because of a communication issue. He didn't give Jeannie the chance to explain what was going on. But also another reason that this was not 5 star for me is because we had a mystery element that wasn't really looked into. Like, it was enough to bring her and Logan together, but they didn't really do anything with it. So someone was sabotaging her in the cafe because clearly they wanted her to sell and wanted her out of this. And nothing really come of it. They knew it was happening. And it was right near the end of the book. Jeannie just wanders down and is like, oh, it's you doing this. Okay. Whereas I would have liked the whole cute vibes of the pair of them like investigating this together and making it a nice little day, because they did at the start when there were some weird spooky goings on. Sadly, they didn't really spend that much time investigating it, and like I said earlier, if you put a mystery in front of me, I want to focus on that a little bit more than, like, you know, some of the other bits. But it was cute. So cute romance, fiction, cozy, just loved it. Loved the vibes. glad that I managed to read it in October because it's pumpkin month, and it would have been really sad to have not read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe in pumpkin month. But yeah, so that is my wrap up for October. Not as good as I would have liked. However, because of the big book, I did read a total of 3,514 pages, which averaged over 152 pages a day, but I didn't get to read every day in October because I was ill and because I was at Comic-Con. And I've had this week off, but I've been busy, so I only really got to read like a couple of hours each day at the end of the day. And yeah, so 3 5-star reads, sadly 1 1-star, which is I think the lowest that I've had for a while, and 8 books out of my ever-growing list of to be read. I bought 3 new books on Thursday because I have a problem, so I actually ended up with all my books that I got in October. I ended up with 22 on my to be read pile, and 8 of that got cleared, so it's never ending, but eventually I will get through them at some point, and hopefully I will get through them in November, especially some of the ones that I did want to read now that I've not got like a 960 page beast looming over me. It's done, it's gone. All my books are quite small now, apart from Diabound, but that isn't as big, so I will get through them quite quickly. Thank you guys for watching my wrap up. I look forward to doing another one of these. I hope you guys enjoy. I was so happy with how well received my first one was, and I hope you enjoy this one as well. I am next month going to try and record the books as and when I go, and then make one big video at the end of the month, so things are more fresh in my mind. Unfortunately, it just didn't fall that way because I was ill, and then because I had Comic-Con as well. It just put me behind on everything. So I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.